probably hot with some of these mics, so.
Just a little.
We're just waiting for Sergeant Sprague.
Now, 5 seconds.
What if I told you that the answer to reduce crime is Ignite? Not just by a little bit, but by 23%. What if I told you that Genesee County saved $560,000 in 1 year because 100 less people are in jail? What if I told you that not only have we increased math and reading proficiency, but we did it by more than a grade to a grade and a half? And the fact that the relationship of the community with the staff and law enforcement within this community is not only better, but is in a more trusted way. So says Harvard University, Brown University, and the University of Michigan. Today is a groundbreaking day for me in my career, for this office. I remember the day on May 30th, 2020, when I made a declaration standing on a light pole at a Target parking lot. I made a claim that after we as a community were able to turn from hate and anger to true culture change on that light pole, I said, I can't do everything, but I am going to do my part as the sheriff. I'd been the sheriff for 5 months on that day. And I'm making good on that promise because we launched Ignite on September 8th, 2020. That was one of many culture changes that we said, this is how you turn the tide. This is how you restore faith and hope. This is how you keep people from being incarcerated, how you keep victims from being re-victimized, how you reduce crime, how you gain trust, build race relations, community relations, all the things that 2020 taught us. That's what we made a pledge to do. And when we launched Ignite, and we partnered with people like Mount Morris Schools, and Coach Harbaugh, and Chief Justice McCormick, and all of our partners, the UAW, the Red Wings retirees. When you partner with these people and you partner with great universities, it catches attention because Ignite, which is inmate growth naturally, intentionally through education, is a culture change where instead of just incarcerating people, we educate them. And if you give people a skill set, if you give them the opportunity not to reoffend, not to re-addict, everybody wins. It's not a political issue. It's a people issue. And we have shown that if we do this, it will catch attention. And we celebrate based on this meritocracy. If you do your homework and you graduate, we're going to give you graduation ceremonies. We're going to reunite you with your family. And that was picked up by the very first sheriff's office in the country, Hennepin County, in 2021, which is Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was lifted up because of the good work from the National Sheriff Association. And from there, it's been duplicated. Since that day, we are in 20% of the states in this country, Ignite. It is the jail standard. We just did a Ignite launch in Montgomery, Alabama, 2 days ago from this day. We have Kalamazoo next week. We have 2 more. We did Fayetteville, Pennsylvania. We have been all over the country. And why is it important? Because I know that if we can reduce crime in America, then we have less victims. We have less overview. We have less pressure on our communities. And when Harvard University and the research team made up of these 4 individuals came to me over 2 years ago, these individuals are PhDs from Harvard. Dr. Marcella Alsan, Dr. Crystal Yang, a JD and PhD from Harvard Law, Dr. Peter Hall from Brown University, an economist, and soon to be Archie Barnett from the University of Michigan. When they came here as a research team, Dr. Alsan goes all over the world. And she says, I heard about this Ignite because of a good story that was done by USA Today. Eileen Rivers, thank you, Eileen. When she did the story about Ignite, and she talked about it, and other people saw it, Dr. Alsan says, I want to study this. I want to take it from the inside out. I want to see if this really works. They've been embedded with us for the last 2+ years. This research team has done incredible work, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in staffing, in travel, in FOIAs. And they have not only just gone over the data, but they set out to disprove, does Ignite work or not? Does this model make a difference? And when you go at the mindset of maybe this is not the answer and it turns out to be the answer, then it's that much more of the answer. You know, there's a lot of programs in criminal justice. There's a lot of programs restoring race relations and talking about recidivism. But when you have something that you know, and I knew it was going to work, when you have something that's now validated with the data that you're going to get, I can't thank Harvard and Brown and the University of Michigan enough for trusting this community, for believing in Ignite. We weren't perfect. We've had a lot of ups and downs. But when you just finish a commencement, the 26th commencement, and another one scheduled on May the 7th, and you keep pushing out there, and other people are picking it up, that I know it works. But what really brings us today is the fact that the data has shown that in Harvard's study that was released on April the 1st, which was this Monday, it has shown in a 92-page study that I have in my hand right here, a 92-page study that's all the statistics, all the graphs, everything, Ignite works. So much so, they did an overview sheet. Number 1 month of Ignite reduces weekly jail misconduct by 49%. That means assaults between inmates and assaults on staff. I told the media that are going to promote this story that they're going to get the same graph I'm showing you here. This is a graph that's going to show what happened. We track all the data, all the instances of violence in the jail, because we have a violent population. In 2010, we had 576 acts of violence. 2018, we had 210. 2023, we had 11 for the year. When you look at employee injuries, 2012, we had 36 employees injured. 2023, we had 3, which is still too much. When you look at the data and you realize that we're making a difference because it's a culture change, and then you look at the economies of it. Not only does 1 month of Ignite reduce recidivism in 3 months by 90%, 1 full year of recidivism reduction, 23%. That's a quarter of the crime cut, which tells me exactly why our jail count is 493 today, when 1 year ago it was 593. You'll get that data. And if you go down, you're going to see why that 100 less inmates is going to be key. On average, Ignite participants also increase a grade level full in both reading and math. Ignite increased positive views of law enforcement among community members. Ignite increased positive views among jail education program staff and the inmates. And 1 month of Ignite saves a 12-month social cost of $5,600 per inmate. So if you do $5,600 per inmate, and we're 100 less than we were a year ago today, that's $560,000 just in Genesee County. Do the math. If we did that in all 82 jails in the state and all the jails across this country, 3,084. Imagine the social, we're in the billions now by just changing the culture. I can say it all day long from a light post. I can say it as an elected official, as a sheriff. I can say it as Chris Swanson. But when you have universities that have taken this to peer review 3 different times and have put their stamp of approval on this, saying things such as a cutting-edge program that matches programs across the country as well as other countries in the world, i.e. Norway, the gold standard of jail reform and rehabilitation, that's the kind of things that this community can be proud of. And the media that's been here is here all the time when we promote it. You help push that message. I can't thank the media here, all the photogs behind it, all the reporting from not only this community but around the state. You pushed the message and it caught that attention. So I'm here to tell you that you as the public deserve and you will get everything that I just talked about. We are not stopping. There will be a time where Ignite is in every jail in this community, in this country, and we won't know a jail that did not have Ignite the day that it came in. And all of a sudden, when you look at how cultures change and how families are reunified and how people's addictions go down, this is the answer. You give people value, you give them hope, you give them education. There's no more victims that are re-victimized when they make a decision to change their life. There's no more addictions, and that's where all those costs come in. $67 a day it costs to house an inmate here in Genesee County. That's what everybody's paying. But if we can bring less people in jail, everybody wins. And that's what I'm here to portray, and that's what I'm here to proclaim. So on that day, on May 30th, it was 4 years ago this May, and I'm so thankful that we stayed the course. Thank you for the staff. Thank you for everybody who believed in it. We are just getting started, but Ignite is the answer. So says Harvard University. Any questions?
How are you feeling being proven that your program is working? How does it make you feel to get that validation?
So the question from Channel 5 is how do I feel about it right now? You know, you could tell by my emotion. I believed in it. In 2019, when I came up with a concept running on a treadmill, and Todd Lanning, a former captain, came up with the acronym Inmate Growth Naturally Intentional Education, I believed it. You know, I'm a product of that. I did a master's thesis in 1998 through U of M, and I proved that education reduces crime. It's not more money. It's not more police. It's not more arrests. It's not higher penalties all the time. It's value. And so the validation that Harvard University, if you looked at that research team, take a look at it again. This research team that we're talking about, they don't look like me. These are the people that have come into here and said, we want to see if this works. Long answer, short question, I am so thankful that I believed in my heart what was right, and it's shown to be true. And this is just the beginning.
Do you have like an example of one of your Ignite students that has gone above and beyond since they exited the program?
Yeah. Our Ignite graduates, we are in the hundreds that are employed. They write letters. I just was invited to the Thumb Correctional Facility to go to one of their commencements where 40 inmates are graduating a mock community college program. I was invited by the inmates to go there and be their guest speaker. I'm going up with John Ellen Percy and Danny Harani and Major Gould to Chippewa, which is a state prison, because I was invited by lifers, life inmates, to come up and be a speaker for them. When you break down those barriers, there's nothing that can't be done. I'm a believer in it.
Was there anything that they identified in the report that you're either not doing or are doing, or that you could do better to even improve these numbers?
So the question is there something more we can do or better? They were not critical, Jenna, please come up. They were not critical when it came to what we're not doing. But they were very, why don't you move over here if you would, thank you, sir. They were very scientific of what was doing, what was happening, and their results are based strictly on that data. They were not there to editorialize what we should do and what we shouldn't do. They were just very objective.
And was there anything in this report that is making you think, okay, we need to do this differently?
Yes, great question. So if you look at their results that recidivism is reduced by 23%, how do you get it to 33%? How do you get to 43%? So what they did is they set the bar. But we had to have a bar that was set by somebody outside of law enforcement, outside of what this looks like, and that's what they did. So it's only going to go from here. And I'm going to tell you, Steve, if every jail follows through with what we're doing, then you're going to see this nationwide, and that's where the big numbers come. We're all talking about how to reduce crime. This is not the only answer, but it is the answer.
Is there plans for another study later on in like a couple of years? Will they be doing this again?
The question of another study or follow-up, I tell you, we are so thankful and we're so appreciative of Harvard and all the things that are happening. If they want to do a follow-up, like anybody, we are transparent. I put all my business out on Front Street. There's no scripts. There's no speech writings. If somebody wants to come in and do it again and take a look, we just had New York Times here 2 weeks ago. We invite everybody in for our graduations. We want to track the data. That's what we're doing. And I foresee that others, and I'm hoping that the media pushes this out, that others will be attracted to want to do more in-depth stories to push this to more communities throughout the country. I really need the media to do that.
John,
Yes.
since you're here, you've been on both sides of this.
Definitely.
Talk about what you've seen this program do and how it's been transformational, because you've seen what's happened on the inside, but now you're watching folks on the outside.
And if you could step just one step over. Perfect.
And explain your background, too.
So, good point. I did serve 29 years in prison. I've been home 6 years. And one of the questions I'm always asked is that, besides God, how'd you get here, right? And it's through education. So the concept of education makes sense to me, right? The more that a person invests in themselves, then the number of recidivisms changes, right? We know by studies, if a person has 18 credit hours, just 18 credit hours, right, they have a 90% chance of never coming back in here. So that's what's major and big, right? And so it just makes sense for us to be able to, we talk about prison reform all the time, right? But the concept of jail reform, stopping it right here at the door here, because no person gets there without coming here, and 90% of the people who are here go back in our community. And so we have a responsibility notice I said we have a responsibility. That means we're taking it very serious that while you're here, we're going to do everything possible to give you all the tools necessary to be successful day one. And that's the concept, and that's what we believe in. So that's my understanding.
4 years ago, the sheriff presented this concept to you. There was a large buy-in for you.
Absolutely.
Were you nervous at all that this might not get off the ground and work?
No, two reasons. First of all, I knew that Sheriff Swanson was a man of his word. I knew if he said that he would implement this, I knew that we could pull this off, first of all. Second of all, I'm a product of it, so I know the results because I'm living proof. I have that lived experience.
You know, I think it's great to know too that if it wasn't for the National Sheriff Association and them carrying this message, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
But also, I want to remind everybody, we don't write letters to judges. We don't advocate for cases. This is just while they're here. There's nothing that's used to barter with their cases. But while they're here, we're going to make it constructive and not destructive.
And this is gonna be an added benefit for you to get to those inmates that are a little resistant to the program, having this data to show them, hey, look, this is
That's
your way
right.
out.
That's why Jelly Roll was here. And sometimes, you know, it may be a different source that gives the information where it clicks to somebody. So we have all different voices and all different messengers. And that's why, again, I keep reiterating the importance of our media friends. They may not get it from me, but they may get it from you. And just trust the data. It works.
Absolutely.
Not only is John L. living proof, but the actual study validates it. Pardon me?
Your best example.
My best example, exactly. We've known each other since 1993. We both came into jail when I first started, and he was in the system, and Percy Glover was in the system, and they went one way when I went another way, and
Yeah.
Percy got out over 20 years ago. And what John L. didn't tell you is in 2019, he caught me coming outside the door because he was on the governor's task force for jail reform from Michigan, and he checked me and said, hey, what are you doing? Because I know that you're going to be the next sheriff. And I said, well, come on in. And you brought three other fellas, and we sat down, and I said, we're going to educate folks in the jail. And we had learned, and since we grew up different paths, but both grew up, that together when you find good people find good people, you can make things happen. And it's been a great journey.
I think you're minimizing that. You were screamed out, we're going from incarceration to
Education.
education.
That's it.
And that sold me.
Yeah.
That sold me right there because I know, without a doubt or contradiction, that's the key
Yeah.
to success in life. So it made sense.
Well, there's your answer. Appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. More to come. Keep pushing the message and be safe.
Good job.
Thank you.
You like
Thank
the
you.
hat? Thank you.
Thank you.
Love that.